more matted to having like more texture, or having the words like on top, or like sandwiched in between. So yeah, I was thinking about legibility, but then also like there's like the chemistry and technical stuff of like things getting heated up in the sun, and like what would be better for that in these processes. Yeah, so it's pretty amazing, and a lot of options for sure. Yeah, so yeah, I settled for like having the words and the color like just embedded in the actual glass itself. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Is it going to be as thick as that one at the very end?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It will.
2 inches.
It will
Yeah.
look
Like crazy.
less thick when it's this size.
Okay.
You know, just the
it will
proportions are going to
scale.
feel
Yeah,
like
it
it's,
actually
it's
will.
narrower.
It will also. I think there's. I mean, there's something about
Yeah.
or like anything in public space.
Yeah.
It scales it back
Oh,
down.
it does.
That's nice to see like add something like this.
Like, yeah. It's good. And bubbles are just a natural process.
Yep. Yeah, it's sort of part of it, and it really, it does a lot to give the material life.
Yeah, it's almost like
and
it's submerged in water.
Yeah, it gives you things that your eye can focus on at different depths, and you really, even if you're not seeing the edge of the piece, you kind of appreciate the thickness of the material.
And this is like sand, like sprinkled on there. Is that?
Yeah,
is
so
that
this
what's
is
happening here
all of
too?
the color that you see here. It's all in the same sheet glass that you see down here on the surface, crushed up, and that crushed material is then applied following the design. The process here, you can kind of, if you feel this, you can get an appreciation for it, and it's maybe a little bit more obvious with some of these earlier samples. Our process is to actually take a piece of. Actually, do you still have that fiber paper you were cutting that you ended up not using, or did that?
took the trash
you
out.
It's all good. So we're working on a felt-like material to fire the glass on. And that material is what helps keep the glass from sticking to the shelf. And we can cut into that, and we're going to be using a laser to do all of the cutting for us, because it takes a very long time to do by hand. This is an example of the material. So we're basically, all of the letters are being cut as negative space into a material like this. And then we call it frit, that crushed glass. That's all being laid down following the ridges of the fingerprint over top of those open spaces that have been cut out for the letters. And so that colored material gets down inside of those open spaces. Then we're loading a big, thick piece of clear glass over the top of that, right? And then we fire the whole thing. So as the glass then heats up, it dives down into those open spaces of the letters. And that clear glass is then forming sort of a core on the interior of that relief. So then when we get it back out, you can feel this relief here. Yeah, so here's some examples of the material. So we're using 2 different sizes. Then when we get it back out, we're grinding that layer of red material off the surface of those letters that are in relief, and grinding that relief back enough that now we've revealed that clear core, we've revealed that lettering. So it's a sort of a negative space inside of that red band. Then that is one side of the sculpture, that's the inside, and we join that to another slab of clear glass so that we've got the whole thing encapsulated on the interior like you see here.
You guys watched Reading Rainbow?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Remember how they
Take
go
a
into
look.
the
It's in the
factory
book.
and like they
Yes.
Yes.
Those are my favorites. I love that.
So is this my handwriting?
So yeah, this is from your font, font of your handwriting. We were playing with different sizes and line weights.
Something different, something easier.
Make that font, yeah.
Yeah.
Good though. Yeah.
Yeah, we were trying out some different sizes. So I think this is half an inch tall, and this is sort of the smallest that it would be. And I think we'll use this in a lot of places because it fits well. But 5/8 is also going to make a lot of appearances. So they're just a couple different heights here in order to maintain legibility, but also so that, when we get to full scale, we don't have to make the red ridges too much bulkier in order to encapsulate the negative space of those letters. So we're trying to strike a balance.
And this, I was thinking about, you're going to see this from far away, and then there's an intimacy that happens when you come close to it. And it makes me think about how close will you be when you realize that this thumbprint is inscribed, and what that feeling is going to do when you say, it does to your body.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it'll be legible from a pretty good distance. We've stood this up. We can stand it up now. You can step back and see how far away you can get before you can no longer read the lettering. But yeah, we're also going to be doing, one of the things that we noticed as we were putting this together is that the way that the clear letters break up the ridges makes the areas where there are no letters much bolder. And so we're going to do kind of a combination of bulking up the areas where there are letters, and then making the areas where there are no letters a little bit sparser, a little bit more like some of the things you see around the edges of the fingerprint, just kind of breaking it up a little bit more so that from a distance it reads a little bit more naturally, more uniformly. But then as you get closer, you are going to really be able to start to resolve the text.
Is this the largest sample?
Yeah, so this is sort of our full scale, full thickness, as though we just cut a section out of the finished monument.
Gotcha.
So how long did it take to set up this section, for example?
So it's a multi-firing process, right? So we make these two slabs individually to start with, and then we do that process of laying down the red frit onto the fiber paper, and then we take one of the slabs and we fire it on there. And then we take the whole thing and we fuse it all together. So it took probably about a week to do the first part of these, and then another week to fuse those together into the final object.
And it gets baked here in this thing, or?
So we can do this at this size. We can either do it in this kiln or we can do it in the kiln over there. My original plan was to do it in the kiln that's around the corner because it's big enough. It'd be a good kiln for this. Its only downside is from a photography perspective. The bed on that one doesn't roll out, so it gets a little dark under there. It's harder to get video and things like that. So we might do it in here just because we can roll this bed out and we can clip a camera up to the top and do a time lapse of the whole process, which would be kind of fun.
I love how you're thinking about that.
Yeah.
How big is your annealer?
That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
That's so the kiln is so all of this kiln forming work is a process of taking the glass from room temperature up to the process temperature, which for this is going to be about 1500 degrees. And then the annealing happens in the kiln. As we cool it off, there are stages where we have to go very slowly to keep the temperature within the glass very uniform so that we don't trap any annealing strain in it. And that's part of what takes time, particularly when we're joining the two slabs together into the final thickness. That last firing, we have to come up very slowly because we've already got two thick slabs of glass in there. We don't want a thermal shock. And then we have to bring it down slowly because it's thicker now, and we have to be a little more careful with the annealing. But yeah.
And then the edge, when does that happen?
Yeah, so the edge will come in. What we're gonna do is I'm probably gonna smooth out the profile that I showed you a little bit, just make it a little less aggressive.
Yeah.
And I'll show you a draft of that when I've kind of simplified it a little bit. But we'll be getting Dam's water jet cut with that profile, so that each of the initial slabs will already have that profile built into them. And then we use those same dams again when we bring everything together. We'll re-dam it with those same dams so that we're going to get that sort of irregular edge to it. But the texture of the edge is going to essentially be similar to what you see here.
Okay.
We're going to be using the same material as the separator. That's the texture that comes from this material. So we'll line the dams with a material like this.
This is just jumping ahead a bit, but I'm imagining this on site